This week, we're diving into a truly powerful story for the second week of June. It's a story about the ultimate sacrifice of a man named Appenzelle.
Pastor James Huang brings you the mission history for the second week of June.
So, the man at the center of our story is Henry Appenzelle, and wow, what a story it is. He was really a foundational figure in Korean mission history. Just look at this timeline to get a quick sense of his life. He was born in Pennsylvania back in 1858, joins the Methodist Church, and then in 1885 he makes this life-changing move to Joseon, which we now know as Korea. But his story ends so tragically in 1902. Think about that. He was only there for about 17 years. But what he accomplished in that short time, it's just staggering. It really makes you wonder, right? How does a young guy from a small town in Pennsylvania end up halfway across the globe, literally helping to shape the future of a nation? Well, that's exactly what we're going to dig into. Let's talk about his, pretty unlikely calling. His journey of faith wasn't exactly a straight line. He actually started out in a Presbyterian church, and that's where he had this really powerful conversion experience. But he was looking for something more, a more active kind of faith, you could say. And that led him over to the Methodist Church in 1879. He went on to graduate from Franklin and Marshall College and then Drew Theological Seminary. By then, he was absolutely ready for the mission field. And this is where the story takes a fascinating turn. Believe it or not, his plan wasn't Korea at all. His heart was set on Japan. But some key leaders in the church saw something else for him. They talked to him, persuaded him to think about Joseon instead. Can you imagine that conversation? It was one of those moments, a real fork in the road, that completely changed the direction of his life. And honestly, it changed the course of modern Korean history too. So, he lands in Korea in 1885. And he doesn't just, show up and start preaching. No, Appenzelle was a builder. He got to work laying the actual foundations for a new kind of society, focusing on education, faith, and getting information out there through the printed word. And when I say he was relentless, I mean it. He founded the Pai Chai School. Now, this wasn't just some small Bible study group. This was a game changer. It brought modern, Western-style education to Korea, and it was about so much more than just religion. It set a completely new standard for the entire country. On top of that, he established the Cheongdong First Methodist Church, which became the spiritual anchor right in the heart of Seoul. And if that wasn't enough, he also started the Samun Publishing Company to print and spread knowledge and translated scriptures to the people. The man was a force of nature. He was just constantly building. And if you want to understand the physical toll of all this work, look at this number, -49 pounds. In just his first 5 years there, Appenzeller's weight dropped from 180 pounds all the way down to 131. He lost almost 50 pounds. That's not just a statistic, That's the weight of his dedication. It shows you just how all-consuming his commitment really was. But all of this tireless service, it came to a sudden, absolutely tragic end. And that brings us to his final fateful voyage. Okay, so picture this. It's June 11th, 1902. Appenzeller's on a ship, the Kumagawa Maru, heading to a Bible translation meeting down in Mukpo. It's late, around 10 p.m. Suddenly, disaster strikes. Their ship collides with another one. It's dark, it's chaotic, and the ship is going down, fast. Passengers are scrambling to evacuate. Appenzelle is already on deck. He's safe. He could have gotten away. But then he realizes his assistant, Jo Han-gyu, is not with him. He's trapped down below. And without a second thought, Appenzelle turns around and runs back into the cabin of that sinking vessel. He went back to save him. But the ship went down, and they both perished along with 21 others. Just let that sink in for a moment. He went back to save one more. In the absolute most critical moment of his life, when his own survival was on the line, his first instinct wasn't to save himself. It was to save someone else. He had spent his life serving the people of Korea, and in his very last act, he gave his life for one of them. But that's not where Appenzeller's story ends. Not really. In fact, his death wasn't an end at all. It was the beginning of a legacy that is still going strong today. And you can really see how much he meant to the country by what happened at his funeral. On June 29th, 1902, they sang the Korean national anthem for him. They raised the national flag in his honor. I mean, think about that. For a foreigner to receive that kind of tribute, it was unheard of. It just goes to show they didn't just see him as a missionary. They saw him as a nation builder, as one of their own. And the mission itself, it just kept going.
passed down to the next generation. His work was carried on by his own children. His eldest son went on to become the principal of Paichai, the very school his father started. His eldest daughter became principal at Iwahakdang, and his youngest daughter became a professor there. It's incredible. The Appenzeller legacy became a family legacy, a multi-generational commitment to Korea.
And if you go to Seoul today, you can still see the physical reminders of his life and his sacrifice. In 1935, they put up a memorial at the Cheongdong Church he founded. And then, in 1989, the Paichai alumni built another one at the Yeonghwa-jin Foreign Missionary Cemetery. These monuments are there to make sure that his story, this incredible story of sacrifice, is never, ever forgotten.
Pastor James Huang, who served as a missionary in China and is now ministering in Maryland, USA, is a researcher of Korean mission history. He delivers his weekly Remember and Repay 52-week mission meditation.